before the advent of capitalism, economic science as an integral theoretical teaching was not. There were certain ideas about the economy in the most educated members of the ancient world and the Middle Ages. They are concerned only certain aspects of economic and war normative character, as prescribed, how to develop the economy. The first historical information related to the 4th millennium BC. More systematic views were represented in ancient Babylon, Ishanana laws and the laws of King Hammurabi. They strengthened private property in land, tools, slaves, produce results. An attack on private property is punishable by death or treatment into slavery, if a person has bought from the son of man hands or slave, man or silver, or gold, or an ox, or a sheep, or donkey, or whatever it was, without witnesses or a contract. This man, a thief, he must be killed. Code of laws testified that the strengthening and protection of private property is an important function of the state. The laws regulate the employment relationship, rent, trade, indicating a lack of development of commodity-money relations, domination, subsistence farming. Laws restrict the activities of money lenders and debt slavery. He was imposed a ban on the sale and alienation of land debts belonging to soldiers and other citizens. Debt slavery was limited to 3 years. The most important document of ancient India is Arthashastra, the drafting of which is attributed to Chanakya. Dedicated to the public, economic and political structure of society. It comes from the caste division of society: Brahmins, priests, Kshatriyas, warriors, Vaishyas, farmers, artisans and merchants, Shudra, powerless people God intended to black work. This division of society irresistibly. Much attention is paid to the regulation of slavery. Recommend measures that restrict the development of slavery, prevents the exacerbation of social conflicts. Indian slave could own property, he had the right to inheritance and the right to redeem themselves through their property. The wealth of the country, the work of farmers and craftsmen. It is therefore necessary to protect not only the property, but also humans. The power of the state is the people. A land without a people is like a barren cow. This fact raises objections against war. The state should provide the world the country. It requires careful treatment, and the earth as a source of wealth, considers it necessary to negligent workers to take the land. In Arthashastra states that goods must be sold in accordance with the number of working days, and the award, correspond to the results of labor. Prices in the market are different from the value as competing buyers to increase prices, making them higher value. The prices should be regulated by the state in 2 ways. On the one hand, through the use of state reserves, on the other, due to administrative price regulation. Thus, the product is available in abundance, the warden of the trade has to hold in one place and raise the price. In that case, if the price returns to normal, it must establish a different price. In addition, regulated by place, time, terms of trade. In the sphere of economic policy, Chanakya offered to develop the productive forces, to observe the active balance of the state budget by increasing revenues and reducing costs. An important place in the history of economic thought takes Confucius. It protects formed in ancient Chinese society, order, based on the idea of natural law. According to this idea, God is the origin of the world, but he does not interfere in the public life of the phenomenon, obeying natural laws that open mind and are protected by civil laws, components of natural right. It is therefore necessary to maintain social order, based on unquestioning obedience to authority. Confucius demanded of the rulers to put each person in his place in society, according to its position. And all the people he divided into 4 categories. The first category, have knowledge of the birth; the second category, have purchased it in the process of learning; The third category, those who persistently studying, despite the difficulties. The fourth category, ordinary people experiencing difficulties and deprived of the opportunity to learn. People must work very hard to consume less and to seek comfort. The source of the wealth of the people and the state, he considers the work and the wealth of the supreme ruler is based on the wealth of the people. Condemning the excessive accumulation of wealth going to the detriment of the people, Confucius advised to distribute it evenly. This can be achieved if to reduce taxes, not to separate the peasants from the agricultural work, take care of the improvement of people's welfare and to give the rulers of excessive luxury. In the struggle against Confucianism formed Mozi views. He proceeded from the recognition of the natural equality of all men. It protects private property, considering that it contributes to the development of initiatives based on small-scale producers, mutual benefit and universal love. All people have to do manual labor, which will lead to prosperity in the country. The idea of mutual benefit meant that people should not be guided by the personal and social benefits, which is a set of personal interests. Historical records of the ancient world are the first and foremost information on the economic life of the time and only secondarily can talk about them as monuments of economic thought, which implies a certain generalization of the practice. Only the first attempt to theoretically understand the economic structure of society was made in ancient Greece. The term economy introduced by Xenophon, who called because their work, which in the form of a dialogue deals with the effective management of the household. He considered the basis of all agriculture sector, which should evolve on the labor of slaves. Slavery, the natural state. A free man shall not engage in craft and trade. It is designed to control the slave labor in agriculture. Xenophon substantiate the need for the division of labor on the physical and mental, noted the positive value of division of labor by occupation, came close to the principle of the manufacturing division of labor, drew attention to the link between the division of labor and market size. It shows the necessity of accumulation of money for the expansion of the economy in case of war, etc., and opposes the circulation of money in the form of trade and usury capital. Wealth can be increased by the surplus product produced in excess of a minimum meet the needs of the slaves, so we need to organize the economy, to the slaves worked a lot, but a little consumed. At the same time as Xenophon, the ancient Greek philosopher Plato presented an ideal model of society in the work of politics and state. Society, he divides into three classes: philosophers, warriors, and lower engaged in labor. Slaves were not included into any class. Philosophers and warriors do not have to do manual labor and have any property. Their consumption should wear socialized character. Native resolution is only the lower classes. Plato developed the idea of the division of labor and exchange, a man a lot of needs, and the ability to, 1. Therefore, to meet the needs to be exchanged. He suggested that the deepening and consolidation of the division and specialization of labor. The farm should wear natural character. I propose to ban the import of goods that are not the country needs, and the export of goods, which is not enough. It prohibits the possession of gold and silver owners. Especially should be monitored by avoiding commodity-money relations in the sphere of the philosophers and warriors, because they are corrupt people. In general, Plato characterized by a negative attitude toward commodity-money relations and trade with usury, reflecting the natural type of economy in ancient Greece. Karl Marx considered the most comprehensive head of the ancient world Aristotle. He proceeded from the premise that slavery, a natural phenomenon and should be the basis of production. Slavery is linked with the division of labor, since he believed that the slaves, people who by nature can only do physical work, and free people are engaged in intellectual work. He advocates a subsistence economy based on slave labor. But as there is exchange, Aristotle states about the need to commodity-money relations on an equitable basis, which refers to the exchange of an equal number of goods. Of comparing is performed only by money. Money allocated from the mass of commodities in view of easy handling. They serve as a measure of value and medium of exchange. Exchange analysis allowed to distinguish the two sides in the commodity, use value and exchange value. The existence of commodities and money has led Aristotle to the idea that there are two kinds of wealth: natural, set of use values, and cash. The study deals with the first economy, the study of the second, chromatistics. The accumulation of money in the form of large trade and usury he considered unnatural, contrary to nature. Natural wealth is the satisfaction of human needs. And it appropriate recognizes not only the production of goods, but also the exchange, which serves as a receipt of some other benefit desired person. In general, Aristotle created a complete economic concept. But for centuries it influenced the development of the economic views. In ancient Rome, the work formed by the owners of large estates, such as Cato the elder brothers Gracchus, Columella, focuses on the problems of agriculture economy. So, Cato the elder, summarizing his management experience, recommended to buy slaves and children, educating them in obedience, strictly regulate the work, keep them in severity, to maintain among them dissension, stir up conflicts, timely get rid of decrepit and sick. To farm it is necessary so that the smaller and more live ever after. He offered to sell surplus production when prices rise, and only buy what you cannot produce on their farms. Brothers Gracchus, in order to improve services, offered to replace the large estates into small allotment of land to the landless and land-poor peasants. More went on Columella. He, noting the low productivity of slave labor, raises the question of the transfer of farms to small tenants of the townspeople and peasants who lost their land. At this time, Christianity is born, which was typical for the priority of the afterlife. Therefore, it does not pay due attention to economic problems. However, the characteristic of a negative attitude towards trade, usury and wealth for him: do not lend upon usury to thy brother, nor silver, nor bread, nor anything else that can be lent upon usury. The basis was a tolerance to the suffering on earth, and the idea of equality of all before God. In the Middle Ages, Aristotle's ideas were developed in the works of Thomas Aquinas, who developed the idea of a fair price, which on the one hand, equal labor costs and other costs, and on the other, brings equality of uses, that is, allows the seller to maintain the way of life, corresponding to its social position. Therefore, the fair is a different price for the same product for different classes. If the goods are fed to favor one at the expense of the other, in this case it will be possible for the right to sell the thing more expensive than it is in itself. However, it will not be sold more expensive than the cost of the owner, as the price increase will compensate for the damage that causes the seller himself, losing this thing. Considering the commodity-money relations, Aquinas justifies trade and trading profits, if it is a source of livelihood for trading. Trading profit regards as payment for goods improvement before its implementation. But do not rule out such a source of trading profits by fraud. Loan Interest Board considers the risk or damages that may be caused to the creditor. However, he argued that the percentage can rise to inequality in the exchange, contrary to justice. Money exchanges are carried out relief and treatment function. Therefore, could defective minting money. It recommends to accumulate money, but condemns their accumulation at the merchants and money lenders. It protects private property, as it sees in it the basis of the economy. I believe that a certain part of society by nature entitled to assign wealth. Therefore, property acquired to meet the required needs, is a natural and indispensable element of social life. In the Middle East, Ibn Khaldun introduced the idea of the labor cost of the origin of goods and the exchange of value of goods. Gold acts as the equivalent of all that man has created. The price may vary depending on the value of many products on the market. Profit, the result of unequal remuneration of hired workers for their labor. Trading income arises as the difference between the purchase price and sale price. The cause of wealth is human labor that creates the variety of things. Successfully country will develop if there is private property, as it stimulates the development of production and increase its efficiency. The government should encourage the production, including through the reduction of taxes.